On paper, this seems simple. At the 2026 U.S. Figure Skating Championships, Madison Chock and Evan Bates win again. A seventh national title, fifth in a row, a U.S. record no ice dance team had ever achieved before, and that is the headline. But if you actually watched what they performed that night, you know the headline doesn't even begin to capture the real story. Because this didn't look like a team protecting a legacy, it looked like a team intentionally tearing it down and rebuilding it. They didn't step out cautiously. They didn't skate like veterans trying to get through one final Olympic season. They didn't seem interested in repeating what already worked. They came out with a completely new routine that felt bold, intense, and almost defiant. And that's why this moment matters, because this is an Olympic season, not just any Olympic season, the final one. The 2026 Winter Olympics are only months away. Chock and Bates are in their mid-30s. They are already three-time defending world champions. They have already stood on the biggest stages this sport can offer. And at this point in a career, most teams reduce risk, they fine-tune what's familiar, they perfect what judges already reward, they skate like there's something delicate to protect. But Chock and Bates did the exact opposite. Their rhythm dance hits like a live rock show on ice, a swagger-filled 90s Lenny Kravitz medley. It doesn't gently fit the theme. It takes control of it. The body language is sharp, the edges are powerful. It doesn't feel like traditional ice dance elegance. It feels like a performance challenging the judges to keep up. Then comes the free dance, flamenco-inspired, dark, tightly wound with tension. Long lines combined with off-axis lifts and positions that look physically demanding even for younger teams. It isn't built to quietly rack up points. It's designed to make people feel something intense, and the judges responded. They didn't just win nationals. They dominated it. It was enough to show this wasn't a gimmick or a one-weekend experiment. This was the direction. This was the statement. Which brings up the real question, why now? Why would a team this successful, this established, this close to the end of their competitive careers choose to completely reinvent themselves? Why take creative risks when you're already at the top? Why skate like you have nothing left to lose? That's the same question people asked when Elisa Liu stepped away from skating at 16. And the answer is similar. This isn't about chasing one more medal. It's about control. It's about deciding how your career ends, instead of letting age, expectations, or momentum decide for you. Because when you look closely at this program, what you're really seeing isn't just choreography. You're seeing intention, two skaters who know exactly where they are in their journey, refusing to let the final chapter be safe, predictable, or forgettable. To understand how they reached this point, why this reinvention feels intentional instead of desperate, you have to go back, before the records, before the world titles, back to when Madison Chock and Evan Bates were far from inevitable, and simply lasting long enough to reach this stage was never guaranteed. The reason this reinvention feels earned is simple. Madison Chock and Evan Bates were never expected to last this long. Ice dance isn't designed for careers that span generations. Most teams shine for one Olympic cycle, maybe two if everything aligns. Partnerships change, bodies wear down, judges shift focus, the sport quietly pushes you to peak young and step away. But Chock and Bates didn't follow that path. They teamed up in 2011. Talented, yes, but not the chosen favorites. US ice dance already had its stars. They weren't seen as the future. They were the long shot, good enough to matter but never dominant enough to control the narrative. So they stayed. They skated through years where results were solid but not spectacular. Seasons where they were always close to world medals, close to breakthroughs, but never the headline everyone focused on. They changed coaches, reset programs, absorbed criticism that would have ended most teams. In a sport driven by momentum, they chose patience, and over time that patience turned into something powerful. National titles started adding up, world medals followed, and eventually world championships. Not just once, but repeatedly. By the time they reached their 30 seconds, they weren't chasing the standard anymore, they were defining it. Still, even at the top, there was something missing that never fully went away. At the last Olympics, they won Team Gold, a dream for most skaters. But when the individual ice dance medals were awarded, their names weren't called, no personal Olympic podium, no defining Olympic moment that belonged only to them. For athletes this accomplished that kind of gap doesn't shout, it lingers quietly. And during all of this, the partnership itself was evolving. Years on the ice became a relationship off it. Teammates became life partners, engagement, marriage, a shared life built around training, competition, pressure, and constant travel. And that changes everything, because now quitting isn't an individual choice, and neither is continuing. Every difficult season hits both of them. Every risk is shared, every comeback carries weight beyond results. That's why their longevity isn't just physical, it's emotional. They learned how to disagree constructively, how to lose without letting it damage the partnership, how to win without letting it define their identity, how to separate performance from self-worth in a sport that constantly blends the two. That's not something you can choreograph. It's something you grow into over time, which is why when younger teams rose and fell, Chock and Bates were still there, still improving, still evolving, still refusing to become static veterans. So when you see them now, record holders, world champions, Olympic favorites, it's easy to assume this was always the plan. It wasn't. This career wasn't built on perfect timing. It was built on endurance, and endurance gives you something most athletes never reach at the end of their careers: clarity. The freedom to ask the only question that truly matters, not can we still win, but how do we want to skate when it matters most? That's why this season feels different. They're not protecting what they built, they're trusting it, and that trust is what allowed them to take creative risks most skaters avoid. When the Olympic clock starts ticking, what makes this season different isn't just that Madison Chock and Evan Bates changed their programs, it's how they changed them. This isn't a small adjustment. It's not a safer version of something familiar. It's a deliberate move away from the formula that already made them champions. Starting with the rhythm dance, the rules pushed everyone into the same decade, same musical era, same limitations. Most teams treated it like a problem to solve as efficiently as possible. Chock and Bates treated it like a stage. From the first beat of that 90s rock medley, the energy feels bold and confrontational. The posture is bigger, the movement's sharper. It doesn't feel like they're trying to fit inside the rhythm dance structure. It feels like they're expanding it. The confidence isn't accidental, it's intentional. They're skating outward toward the audience rather than inward toward the judge's notes. And that matters because in ice dance, performance quality often separates great from unbeatable. Then comes the free dance, the real statement. This is where the trust becomes clear. Flamenco-inspired movement demands full commitment. You can't hold back, every edge must be deep, every upper body movement precise, or it looks forced. Add modern atmospheric music, and suddenly, you're balancing tradition with experimentation, which is risky, especially for a team in their mid-3-0s. The lifts are more off-axis, the positions extend longer, the choreography demands strength, flexibility, and control that younger teams often replace with speed. There are moments where the program almost challenges the ice itself, and that's the point. They're not chasing what others do best. They're leaning into their own strengths built over years of musicality, connection, and understanding exactly how far they can push without breaking. This program uses experience as an advantage, not a limitation. When they performed it at nationals, the reaction was immediate. The arena didn't feel like it was watching a routine. It felt like it was witnessing a statement. Judges didn't just reward the difficulty, they rewarded the confidence behind it. And that's what makes this timeless. Months, or even a year from now when someone watches this, the scores won't matter as much as the feeling. Because this program isn't built around trends or rules, it's built around a choice to skate like artists instead of calculating for points at the end of a career. That choice only works if you believe in what you've built over 15 years together, and trust your partnership enough to take creative risks when caution is expected. That's why this routine feels so different. It's not a farewell tour, it's a challenge. A reminder that even at the end, even with records already secured, Madison Chock and Evan Bates have no interest in fading quietly. They're skating like a team that wants their final chapter to be unforgettable, not because it was safe, but because it was bold. And that brings everything into focus, because when Madison Chock and Evan Bates step onto the ice in a season like this, they're no longer skating towards something, they're skating from it. From years of near misses, from cycles where they were strong but not selected, from the quiet frustration of knowing you're among the best in the world and still missing the defining moment everyone remembers. That's what makes the build-up to the 2026 Winter Olympics feel different for them. They're not chasing validation anymore. They already have it. 7 national titles, multiple world championships, a career that on paper doesn't need anything more added. So the question changes. It's no longer can they win, it's how do they want to be remembered? Most teams at this stage become defensive. They protect their reputation, their bodies, what they've built. Chock and Bates chose something more difficult. They chose expression over safety, programs that demand presence, not just precision, programs that only succeed if both skaters are fully committed and willing to let the performance land however it will. That's not accidental. It's a shift in mindset, because when you've been together this long and survived both the sport and life together, the fear of losing starts to disappear. And when that fear fades, something powerful replaces it. Freedom. Freedom to skate boldly, to take risks, to trust that no matter what happens, the partnership is strong enough to hold it. That's why this routine doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a decision. A decision to stop skating like legends, protecting a legacy, and start skating like artists who still have something new to express. And that's what makes this story timeless. Months from now, when someone watches this, records may not feel new, scores may blur, standings may change. But this moment will still matter because it captures something rare in sports, the moment when an athlete realizes that the most powerful move late in a career isn't holding on tighter, it's letting go. When Madison Chock and Evan Bates step onto the ice in Italy, the result will matter. Medals always do. But the larger legacy may already be set. They prove that even after 15 years, even after winning almost everything, you can still choose reinvention over comfort. And in a sport that constantly tells athletes when their story should end, that might be the boldest routine of all.